Hi guys, Thomas here, founder of BookBeam, the all-in-one software for increasing your book sales on Amazon. And in this video, we're going to be talking all about Q4, how to make the absolute most out of Q4 or quarter four, or also known as the holiday sales rush. It's an amazing opportunity where I'm able to generate these types of results like this and like this for several years already. So it actually took me a while to be able to crack this, to figure out what Q4 is actually all about, what Q4 is all about on Amazon and for publishing and for books. But you're lucky, you'll have all the secrets and all the knowledge laid out for you inside of this video. So stick around, it's gonna be quite value packed. All right, so first let's get clear on what Q4 actually is and why it's so important and worth talking about. So Q4 stands for quarter four, or the last 3 months of the year, October, November, and December. And really we're actually talking about the end of Q4, which is like mid-November-ish to end of December. But again, we'll get into the specifics later on in the video. And what this is all about is the holiday sales rush, when everybody's buying gifts for one another, mostly in December. For some, it's end of November already, but everybody's buying gifts for one another, for their friends, family, aunts, uncles, colleagues, teachers, etc., etc. So people are buying gifts in all directions for all the people in their life. And this represents an amazing opportunity for anybody really in retail or e-commerce, commerce or e-commerce. There's a substantial increase in sales, and that definitely includes books. Books are a category that see that increase in sales in quite a dramatic and substantial way. So that's why it's an amazing opportunity. All books, the entire category, sees an increase in sales during Q4. We're very lucky because books are a go-to gift for a whole lot of people when people don't know what to give to their aunts, uncles, dads, moms, or daughters and sons, etc. When they don't know what to gift, they oftentimes turn to books. And by the way, you'll notice that this piece of information, I will circle back to it later in this video. So first off, if you want to make the most out of Q4, a prerequisite is that you have to prepare in advance. You can't just see the sales or the demand increasing in the beginning of December and then quickly be reactive to that, be quickly trying to put something together that is not going to be high quality, that's going to have 0 reviews because you just launched it in December, for example. You can't be doing that and expecting to do well. You have to anticipate things in advance. You have to prepare in advance. What does that mean? You have to produce and publish and research your book before Q4 is anywhere even close. So ideally, at the latest, you're going to be launching it around August, maybe September, maybe even October at the absolute latest, but that's kind of pushing it a little bit already. And why that is, why you want to prepare in advance and publish way before Q4 is even anywhere close, that is because you want to build reviews. You want to build reviews for your book. You want to make sure that it has ideally at least 20 reviews, even more ideally 50 reviews plus, so that you can actually perform well and that your book will have a good conversion rate. And it's not going to be, when you advertise it, it's not going to be too expensive, and the other ads are actually going to work for you. So really, you cannot be doing this newbie mistake where you just are reactive and December rolls around, you quickly throw something together. No, you can't do that. You have to be more like a savvy investor. You know that Q4 is going to come around just like every year, like clockwork. The demand is going to increase like nuts, and you can make sure that you are well positioned, you are in the right kind of position to make the most out of it. So this is the ground layer that you must make sure that you prepare well in advance. Okay, so next let's talk about the holiday sales rush dates. How does it look like? How does it take place? So roughly during mid to end of November, it starts picking up, it starts increasing. The sales numbers and demand start rising, and then through the beginning of December, it keeps increasing all the way to the peak dates. The absolute peak is December roughly 12th to 19th. This is when things are going nuts, crazy. It's a time like no other where it almost seems like the rules of supply and demand don't matter anymore. There's just insane amounts of traffic on Amazon. Things are really wild. And then it finishes around December 22nd when everybody has shopping hangover, everybody's done shopping, has shopped too much, and so on and so forth. So December 22nd is when the graph starts again going. It actually crashes to before normal levels because again, everybody's having shopping hangover, everybody's so over shopping around that time. And by the way, if you're wondering, why is it December 22nd? Christmas Day is not on December 22nd. And the reason for that is because most people do, if you think about it, most people do their holiday shopping before the actual holiday date, right? You want to make sure that you have the gifts prepared in advance. So you're not going to be shopping on Christmas Day. Sure, there's a small amount of people who are going to be doing that, but most are not. Most are going to be shopping well before that date, or at least, at least a week before, or actually most are going to be doing it in that peak, in those peak days 12 to 19. So that's why it ends around December 22nd. And by the way, that's when you want to be turning off all your ads, but we'll talk more about that later in the video. And so here you can see that reflected inside of a graph, an actual graph of book sales. So this is the dashboard of one of our publishing companies. So you can see that it starts, this graph is only for December, but it starts, as I mentioned before, it starts picking up mid to end of November, and it keeps growing all throughout December. And here you can see the peak days. It's just, the graph goes all the way up like this, and then it just suddenly crashes at around December 22nd, roughly. So you see the graph just crash down, and that's actually very normal. I can see the people who are newer to publishing, they're always in the groups panicking. You guys, did the sales crash for you as well? It's nothing's going on. It's tumbleweeds. I'm not getting any sales anymore. They're panicking, and this actually is very normal and to be expected. So if you know how this looks, you can again kind of know what to anticipate. So that's when you want to be turning the ads off, December 22nd. Again, I'll talk a little bit more about this later on. All right, so I think I already know what you might be thinking. What kind of niches do well during Q4? What kind of niches do I have to be focusing on to do well in Q4? And really, the answer is, first of all, a rising tide lifts all boats, meaning that the entire category, as I mentioned before, will see an increase in sales and demand. But there are a few specific niches or specific types of books, specific, let's say, book categories that will see an even bigger increase than the entire category, that will be purchased more. And really, the best way I can explain this to you, think of it, see it through a lens of what I call giftability. Look at it from the lens of giftability. How giftable is this book? How giftable is this item? So here are some examples of some categories that do extra well during Q4. That is trivia. Trivia does really, really well. Anything that is for kids, related to and for kids, is gonna do well, because kids are like the target recipient of a lot of gifts. Then anything that is about jokes and gags, and people like to have fun and gift each other funny and silly gifts. So all of those types of things do really, really well. One challenge though, when you're trying to prepare for a time that you are not in, for the time that is ahead of you, is how are you gonna know what's exactly the niches that do well? So for that reason, to solve that exact problem, we have created the category history tool. It's a great tool that you can use to find out what sells well during seasonal dates by looking in the past. So here, for example, I pulled up December 18th and seeing the top selling books in December 18th of 2023. So I'm looking at 2023 and seeing what was selling well in 2023, December of 2023. And that will help me to anticipate what will sell well during the next Q4, during next December. So here I'm seeing a book that's interesting fact for curious mind, #1, and it's very likely self-published, even though it doesn't show independently published. It's very likely self-published and did insanely well. #1 spot throughout most of Q4 and made a killing. Then we have difficult riddles, again in that similar trivia type of niche. Cookbook for young chefs, a lot of kids books, again interesting facts for smart kids. Very, very similar to the other ones. How to survive a bear attack, drawing books, dad jokes, serial killer trivia book. Well, I wouldn't touch that personally. That's a weird niche for my likes, but hey, I'm not one to judge. Then we have life skills for teens, activity book for intelligent men. So you can see, if you kind of analyze and think a bit more deeply, what is the connecting thread throughout all of these niches? It is the fact that they are all giftable, very giftable niches, and they're all the kind of purchased as a gift. They're going to be purchased and used as a gift. People of Walmart, kind of a funny gag gift type of book. Again, another complete baking book for young chefs. So this is the main top 100 list, books that sell incredibly well. You can go down further down, for example, cookbooks, food and wine, see what was doing really well during last Q4, last December in this subcategory. There are also custom lists that we've created in this tool. You can see again during December 18th, or we can go to another date here, December 19th, or whichever one you want, 20th. You can see what was selling the best out of all self-published books. So out of all books that are known to be self-published, you can see what was selling the most. Here again, we have another dad joke book. We have a lot of coloring books. We have a funny, it's kind of a gag gift, you could call this, I guess. air fryer cookbook. So a lot of different niche ideas here. So these are all the top selling self-published books that you can see in any given date. And then here, top 100 seasonal books. So these are the books, not just out of self-published books, out of all books that have a specific seasonal keyword. In this case, it's Christmas. You can also look at the other ones like Easter and Valentine's Day if you want to do seasonal publishing. So anyway, so to prepare for Q4, here are all the books, highest selling books with the keyword Christmas or with a word Christmas, exact word Christmas inside of their title. So this is a pretty amazing tool to prepare for Q4 and see the exact niches that do really, really well in Q4 during the holiday sales rush. There is as well a free alternative called the Wayback Machine, and what it is essentially is an archive of the entire web or most of the web. It tries to save most of the pages out there on the web. And so how you would use it, you would go to web.archive.org, and then you would go to Amazon's book, top selling books category, copy the URL and paste it in here and hit enter. And it's going to show you all of the snapshots that are available for this URL. One thing we do have to mention here though is that if you want to look at some of the subcategories that are below the main books, top 100 books category, is that they're not going to be as well populated. So for example, here I entered cookbooks, food and wine. The level 2 category is not going to have as many snapshots available. Next up, let's talk about Amazon ads during Q4. It's a really important topic to be able to maximize and make the most out of Q4. Amazon ads is going to be a huge part of that. So you have to achieve like bigger numbers, you have to be willing to spend or invest actually some money into Amazon ads. And out of the numbers that you saw me mention briefly in the beginning of this video, roughly 35% of that is spent on Amazon ads to be able to generate those results. So you got to be buying the traffic, buying the clicks, and that's how you're going to get your books to sell at such high rates. You can't really, I don't really think you can be doing much organic stuff. Of course, some, yes, but you're not going to be achieving big numbers. So it's kind of a pay to play game at the higher levels. That's the truth of it. So you have to be willing and able to invest some money into Amazon ads. And by the way, it can be also smaller amounts, but some investment can go quite far during Q4 if, again, you have prepared in advance. So that's an important part. So quick recap, what is Amazon advertising? How does it work? So really quickly, it is when you are targeting your book to buyers, and usually you are targeting doing targeting in one of 3 ways. Keyword targeting, that's when you target certain keywords. When somebody types in a keyword, you target your book to be shown for people who type in that keyword. Product targeting, you usually will target your book to be shown to similar products, similar books. And lastly, automatic targeting is when you allow Amazon's algorithm to target your book automatically to different keyword targets and to different product targets. So those are the 3 main types of targeting that you can do. Yes, there are others, but these are the core ones. And by the way, a lot of ad success is actually made outside of Amazon. A lot of ad success is actually in your niche, in having a great book, great content people love, leave great reviews for, and a great cover. All of that actually impacts your ability to run successful ads. So it's actually a lot of the success happens outside of your ad dashboard directly. So a really important note. I'm not going to go too deep into this in this video, but if you want me to do a separate video on this, feel free to leave a comment down below under this video. So what happens with Amazon ads during Q4? So clicks become they become more valuable, and because they become more valuable, they become more expensive. And also, by the way, aside of these 2 points, kind of on a bigger level, there's actually more clicks available. So the clicks have become more valuable and there are more clicks available. So let me illustrate this for you. So for example, let's say June, you have a book called X, for example, and you target it for a keyword word search, for example, and it takes you 10 clicks on average to get 1 order. So in June or any non-Q4 time, it takes you 10 clicks to get 1 order. So now let's contrast that same book and that same keyword during Q4. So what is going to happen? What is going to change? It's going to take you only 5 clicks to get that 1 order, just roughly. You know, these cannot be the exact numbers. This is just an example. But generally, it's going to take you less clicks because the buying frequency is that much higher during December, during Q4. So it's going to take you less clicks during Q4 to get that 1 order. So what does that mean? The click is more valuable and it is also more expensive. Why does it become more expensive? It's because everybody realizes, most publishers who know what they're doing realize that, okay, the clicks are so much more valuable. I'm going to bid more. I'm going to be willing to pay more for every single click just because I know they're more valuable to me. It takes me less clicks to get more orders. So this is how it works. Next up, major topic when we're talking about Amazon ads in Q4 is budgeting. You have to be mindful about this. And again, I've made so many mistakes around this specific topic in Q4 is budgeting, not planning the budget in advance. You have to figure out what your budget is going to be in advance. So you don't want to run out of your ad spend well before the peak dates. This is what I've done in the past. I ran out of the spending budget way back several years ago when I was still more new figuring this out. I ran out of the budget, and it was, it's funny to look back, but it wasn't that fun at the time when you have kind of not really planned it that well, and during the peak dates you're actually, oh, I'm out of ad spend, whoops, too bad. So you want to make sure that you spread out your ad budget very evenly throughout these dates. So end of November through December, roughly 22nd. You want to spread it out evenly. And one way that you could do it, if let's say you are more limited on budget, you could be more conservative up until December 11th or 12th, and then you could go really hard throughout the peak dates. That will help you to make the best possible ROI potentially. But really, you gotta be guided by your ad dashboard. That will again tell you where the best opportunities are, combine it with what I've told you here, how it kind of works throughout the dates. But one way you can do it is you can be more conservative in the beginning, and then you can be kind of max it out, kind of like if you were running, let's say, a race, a sprint, you kind of go more conservative in the beginning and in the middle, and then at the end, 12 to roughly 19 or 20, you go hard. That's when you really spend out all of that budget and make a really good return on your investment. Then some other brief points about budgeting during Q4 is if your budget is tight, make sure that you invest it only in the best places. What does that mean? Invest it only in the campaigns that perform the best, that give you the best return on investment. And how that looks in terms of number is it's going to give you the best ACoS or advertising cost of sales. So it's going to give you a good return for every dollar that you spend. Of course, you also have to take in account what is your royalty per book. There's a free calculator on BookBeam's website where you can input all of your book's numbers, the page count, etc. And it will show you what your break-even ad cost is. So if you're in a tight budget, only spend it in the highest return on investment places. And also, don't be emotional about it. Let the numbers guide your way. Don't be emotional, for example, like, oh, I published this book, but the numbers aren't good. I'm not really getting a good return on my ad spend. I'm going to keep pushing it and maybe it's going to work eventually. Most likely that's not going to be the case. So if you have better campaigns that are performing better, just put your money towards what's working and stop kind of bleeding your budget dry. Invest it in better places. Then another important point for ads during Q4 is you want to be testing new keyword and new product targets. And why that is because targets that usually don't work for you might work for you during Q4. And why that is because of that increased purchasing frequency, again, that I talked before, that it takes less clicks to get that one order. So new keyword and product targets that usually in a non-Q4 time maybe don't work for you. They're too expensive to justify the ad spend, not enough orders to justify your ad spend. Targets that don't work during Q4, they might actually work. So you want to be testing new stuff, new targets during Q4. So for example, let's say your book is titled Word Search for Kids. You might be able to get some broader keywords to work, like books for kids or Christmas gifts for kids. You might be able to target that book for those keywords and they might actually work. Now, of course, this is just an example. Yes, those big keywords are quite competitive, but they also do have a lot of demand. This is just an example so you get an idea for how this could look. Then another thing very related to the previous point that you can do is you can test non-book related products. So products that are related to the topic of your book, but that are not books themselves. So for example, if your book was about how to train your dog, for example, you could target it towards some dog treats or some dog toys. If your book was about gardening, you could target it to some garden, let's say garden shovel or some type of seeds maybe. I'm not sure if they're sold on Amazon, but just an example. So you can test targeting your book with ads to products that are not books, but are still related to the topic of your book that can work during Q4. Then lastly, don't forget about the non-US marketplaces. So that's going to be out of the English speaking ones, it's going to be UK and Canada. And then out of the non-English speaking ones, that's going to be Germany, France, Italy, and Spain, the European Amazon marketplaces. You can do really, really well in those as well during Q4. It's also taking place outside of America. Q4 is taking place outside of America, and most of the same ideas apply, that there's more buying frequency happening, that the clicks are more valuable, and that you can do really well selling in the non-US marketplaces during Q4. So, and by the way, if you don't know how would you go about taking advantage of the non-US marketplaces, well, there's not too much that you have to do in Amazon UK and Canada. Just start ad campaigns, and you don't have to republish the book. It's because there's no language barrier there, so you can use the same book listing. But for the European ones, you would have to translate them, translate the title on the cover as well, and all of the contents as well. This is quite easy to do for low content and medium content. And so you do have to go through the translation process and republish it as a new listing. And then you can advertise it in each of the marketplaces. So for the book to do well, it has to be in the local native language of each of the marketplaces. So again, you can do really, really well, not just in US, you can do really well across all of these marketplaces. And again, you have to prepare in advance to be able to take advantage of this opportunity in not just US, in also all of these non-US Amazon marketplaces as well. All right, so that was my guide on how to make the most out of Q4. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.